Hi, welcome to your Swis Roll practical. So before you start, as ever, you need to make sure you've washed your hands, you're wearing your apron. If you've got long hair, it's tied back, and make sure you've cleaned your work surface with spray and using a dishcloth. So I'm going to talk you through the equipment and ingredients that you will need. You will need to ensure you spend about 10 minutes at the start of the practical getting these prepared. This is your mise en place, and it's really important to ensure you have a successful practical where you are organised in your method. Okay, so what we need is a large mixing bowl. We need a spoon, a knife, a palette knife, a spatula. You also need to have a tray and some greaseproof paper. The scissors and the whisks will be shared among the class, so you do not have to have these for your individual use. They will be dotted around the room. In terms of your ingredients, you need to ensure you have 3 eggs, 125 grams of caster sugar, which I've previously weighed out, 125 grams of plain flour, and you need something for your filling as well. So here I have 4 tablespoons of jam, but this could be substituted for something such as Nutella or some cream. If you do bring in cream, it's important it's double cream, and you would maybe need to allow extra time because you would need to make sure your Swis roll is completely cool before you apply this. So I would suggest that you bring in jam or Nutella. They have the best results. If you want to bring in additional, if you want to make your Swis roll chocolate flavoured, you could substitute 1 tablespoon of the plain flour for 1 tablespoon of cocoa powder, roughly 25 grams. So before you begin, it's a good idea to line your baking tray. And to do this, you should have some butter. And what you need to do is just dab a little bit of butter in all 4 corners of the tray, like so. Cloth. And get your baking paper, your parchment paper, and press it into the corners, into the butter and into the corners of the tray. You want to have nice crisp edges with this. So once you have put a marker to where the corner of the tray is, take a pair of scissors and snip down to the very corner and fold the baking paper over itself. So you have a nice crisp edge, and that will help with the way your Swis roll looks at the end. So repeat that for all 4 corners, please. So once you've lined your baking tray, it should look something like this. And then you can move on to the next steps. So we need to have a large mixing bowl, and we are going to crack 3 eggs into there. So tap the egg on the side of the bowl so it creates a hole. Insert your 2 thumbs and pull apart, like so. If you have any shell in there, then make sure you fish that out, because nobody wants a little bit of crunch in their Swis roll. Please make sure after you've done this that these go into the bin and that you wash your hands. Have my eggs in my large mixing bowl. I'm just going to clear my area, and then I'm going to add my caster sugar to the mix, like so. So to combine these 2 ingredients together, your sugar and your eggs, you need to use an electric whisk. It's very important that you do not switch the whisk on until the whisk is inside the bowl. So I'm going to put it in, and I'm going to start off initially on a speed 1 and on a slow speed, and then gradually increase that. You are looking for the mixture to be nice and thick and foamy. I will show you this once it's done. One last little point, just please make sure that you have your hand firmly on the bowl so it's not slopping about. You can see see that this is getting some large bubbles in there now, but we will be looking for the colour to change. It will go much paler, and as you see that the video progress, you will see what you're looking for. So as you can see from the mixture, it's now gone a little bit paler and it's starting to thicken up a little bit. It's not quite ready because it's still very liquid, so I'm going to continue whisking. You will probably end up whisking for somewhere around 7-8 minutes, something like that. Okay, so as you can see, the mixture is now nice and light in colour and it's nice and thick and foamy. One way to check that it's ready is if you put the whisk into the mix and bring it up, you can see it falls in ribbons. One other way to check it's ready is if you can trace a figure of 8 in the mixture and get around the figure of 8 before it disappears, then we know it's ready. The next step is to add the flour. So you are going to add the flour to the mix, like so. And we've just whisked in all of that lovely air, so we don't want to get rid of it, and so we are not going to beat the flour in, we are going to fold it in. Now folding is best done with a metal tablespoon, and I like to do it best if you keep the spoon quite vertical and you kind of create a figure of 8, so you're not getting rid of the air and you fold in some extra air into the mixture. Another method you can do it if you hold the side of the bowl, you go around the bowl and cut through the middle, around and cut through the middle, and you want to do that until all of the flour is nicely combined in the mixture. Once the flour is combined into the mix, you then want to take a spatula, clean your spoon and transfer it into your tray. So hold the bowl at an angle and with the spatula just spoon the mix onto the tray like so. And you can see it's a nice, all those big air bubbles, that's going to help it rise in the oven. And make sure you get all of the mixture in. Like so. You can then use the spatula to tease the mixture into the edge, or what you can also do is hold the tray on a slight angle and gravity will take hold and will help it go into all 4 corners. Now this is quite a light sponge and does therefore not take a long time to cook. So depending on which shelf it goes into in the oven depends how long it's going to cook for. If it's on the top shelf, it will be roughly 8 minutes, the middle shelf will be roughly 10, and the bottom shelf will be roughly 12. But you do really need to keep an eye on it because you don't want it to overcook. You want it to be a nice light sponge, which will make it much easier to roll. So I've got my oven gloves on. This is going to go into the oven horizontally like this so that the tray fits. So crouch down. I'm going to put this onto the top shelf like so, being very careful not to burn myself. Closing the door, checking that the flame's still on, and then I will put a timer on for 8 minutes and come back and make sure I check it. At this time it's very important that you prepare your surface ready for rolling out your Swiss roll, which I will come to in a second. While your Swiss roll has been in the oven, it's really important that you are prepared for when it comes out. You want to roll it as quickly as you can when it comes out of the oven, because this will ensure you get a nice smooth roll without it cracking. So to prepare while it's in the oven, you need to make sure you have got a piece of greaseproof paper on a clear work surface. This should have been cleaned down and wiped down, and then you want to add a sprinkling of caster sugar to that, so that you know that your Swiss roll is not going to crack, is not going to stick. You also need to make sure that you have got your filling ready. You don't need that immediately, but it's a good idea to get it ready. And you also need to make sure you have a palette knife and a knife for spreading your mixture, your filling. Okay, so my Swiss roll's on the top shelf, so 8 minutes have now passed. Let's see how it's going. Oven gloves on, out of the oven. As you can see, it's a nice light colour, a nice golden colour. I'm going to bring it straight up to my work surface, and as I said previously, we need to work quite quickly with this. So I'm going to take my oven gloves off. The tray will still be hot, so you need to make sure you are taking the greaseproof paper with your fingers and trying not to touch the tray. When you take it out of the tray, oops, a little bit sticky. When you take it out of the tray, you need to turn it upside down onto your greaseproof paper, which has got the sugar on it, like so. I'm then going to move my tray out of the way, just so I do not accidentally burn myself. It's a good idea to pop it in your sink for later. I then need to remove the greaseproof paper. So I'm going to start at the top, and I'm just going to tease it away from the edge, like so. But as you can see, I'm doing this as soon as it's come out of the oven. You can see the smoke, the steam coming off the Swiss roll. If you leave this for longer, it will start to set onto the greaseproof paper, which will make it much more difficult. Put that in the bin. You then want to score down one side. So scoring means that we're not going to chop it right through, we're going to cut about halfway through, and you want to do that about 1 centimetre in from the base of the Swiss roll. So I'm going to use my palette knife, and I'm just going to score it like so. And that is going to help when I begin to roll it. So I'm going to roll away from myself, and I want to initially trap the greaseproof paper inside the roll. So as you can see, I am rolling the greaseproof paper in. I'm doing it nice and smoothly and relatively quickly. And I want to leave that for a few minutes to cool with the seam facing down, so the end of the top end of the Swiss roll is facing the work surface. I want to leave that to cool till it's cool enough to add my filling. So if I'm doing something like cream, it needs to be pretty much cold or the cream will ooze out of the sides. Jam or Nutella will be fine when it's still quite warm. The idea will be that it will have like some memory. So once I unroll it, I can then put my filling into it. And once I roll it again, it will go back into that the Swiss roll shape that we all know and love. Okay, so a few minutes have now passed. Because I'm putting jam in mine, I don't need to leave it for too long. So I'm going to unroll my Swiss roll, like so. And then I am going to add my jam. I'm going to use a spoon. You can either use a palette knife or the back of a spoon to spread this out. And it works a little bit easier if you have softened it. Mine's just come out of the fridge, so it might take a while. When you are spreading this on, you want to make sure you leave about 1 centimetre around the edge so that it does not all ooze out when you come to re-roll it. The amount of filling that you put in is entirely up to you and up to your plate and up to your personal choice. So enjoy. Okay, so as you can see, I've spread this nice and evenly with jam. So I'm going to re-roll it, this time without the greaseproof paper. Might have some cracks in there, like so. And there you have it, Swiss roll to slice and enjoy.